The night the arrogant billionaire lady walked into Ethan Cole's quiet, struggling life, it did not feel like the beginning of a miracle. It felt like the kind of moment that shatters whatever fragile balance a man has built just to survive. She stood there in an expensive coat that probably cost more than Ethan's entire year of rent, eyes cold, posture sharp, power clinging to her like perfume. Her words were blunt, shocking, and almost cruel in their honesty. She wanted a baby, and somehow she believed Ethan was the answer. For Ethan, a single father barely holding himself together for the sake of his little daughter, the question that echoed inside him was painful and humiliating all at once. Why him, of all people, in a world ruled by wealth, influence, and options? If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that broken people can still change each other's lives, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them most. Ethan's life had been shaped by loss long before the billionaire entered it. Years ago, he had loved deeply, trusted fully, and then lost everything when his wife passed away during childbirth. From that moment on, his world shrank to a tiny apartment, sleepless nights, and the soft breathing of his daughter, Lily, curled beside him. Every decision he made revolved around her safety, her smile, and her future. He worked 2 jobs, ignored his own exhaustion, and carried guilt like a shadow, always wondering if he was enough for her. The world saw him as ordinary, replaceable, invisible. And he had learned to accept that invisibility as protection. Victoria Hale, on the other hand, had never been invisible a day in her life. She was the kind of woman whose name made boardrooms fall silent and whose signature could move markets. She had built an empire from nothing, clawing her way up in a world that punished weakness and rewarded ruthlessness. Emotions were liabilities to her, attachments were risks, and love was a distraction she had buried beneath success. But time has a way of humbling even the most powerful people. As the years passed, Victoria realized she had everything except the one thing she could not buy: a child, a legacy that breathed, laughed, and lived beyond balance sheets and headlines. Their worlds collided not through romance or fate, but through desperation. Victoria saw in Ethan something rare and unsettling: integrity untouched by greed, devotion without conditions, and a tenderness that could not be faked. To her, he represented safety, sincerity, and a kind of humanity she had long denied herself. To Ethan, she represented everything he feared: power without empathy, wealth without warmth, and a reminder of how small his life seemed in comparison. The challenge was never simple. Ethan struggled with the idea of being used, reduced to a solution for someone else's emptiness. He worried about Lily, about how her fragile sense of family might be shaken by a woman who lived in glass towers and private jets. Victoria, meanwhile, faced battles of her own. For the first time in her life, she was not in control. She had to confront her loneliness, her fear of vulnerability, and the possibility that money could not shield her from rejection. As days turned into weeks, something unexpected began to grow between them, not romance at first, but respect. Victoria witnessed Ethan's quiet sacrifices, the way he skipped meals so Lily could have better shoes, the way he spoke to her with patience and warmth even when exhaustion pulled at his bones. Ethan saw cracks in Victoria's armor, moments when her confidence faltered, when she stared out of windows as if searching for something she had lost long ago. Slowly, the air between them changed. Suspicion softened into understanding, and understanding into a fragile trust. The turning point came when everything threatened to fall apart. Public scrutiny, legal complications, and Victoria's own fear of losing control pushed her to make a decision that hurt Ethan deeply. For a moment, it seemed like the gap between their worlds was too wide, that love and intention were not enough to bridge it. Ethan retreated into himself, focusing solely on Lily, convinced that some lives were never meant to intersect, no matter how strong the pull, but life has a way of teaching its hardest lessons through pain. Victoria realized that power without connection was emptiness, that a child born into emotional distance would inherit her loneliness. She returned not as a billionaire with demands, but as a woman stripped of pride, ready to learn how to care, how to stay, and how to love without control. In the end, the story was never about a baby alone. It was about healing, about two broken adults discovering that family is not defined by wealth or perfection, but by presence, sacrifice, and courage. Ethan found strength in standing up for his values, and Victoria found redemption in surrendering her armor. Together, they created something neither could have built alone, a future rooted in compassion rather than fear. If this story touched your heart even a little, please pause and show your support by liking the video, sharing it with someone who believes in hope, and subscribing for more stories that remind us why humanity still matters. Before the final moment fades, tell us in the comments what part of this journey moved you the most, because your words help keep stories like this alive. And as the screen fades to black, the message lingers softly in the heart. Sometimes the most unexpected connections are the ones that heal us completely, proving that love does not arrive perfectly, but it arrives when we are finally ready to change.